I will. All right. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. My name is Anakha. I look at recruitment and events at the Circle with Amina, who I'm sure is a familiar face to many today. Um, we are basically, the Circle operates with a very simple but deeply held belief that every child, no matter where they come from, deserve a life filled with opportunity, choice, and dignity. To work towards that belief, we build schools and after school programs and teacher education institutions that are reinventive and rediscovering what learning means in India. Our commitment is bold and hopeful to build an India that is free of poverty and filled with love. We do this in majorly three ways. Firstly is Circle U, which is our newest launch vertical, um, wherein we are rethinking what teacher education can and should look like, investing deeply in the teacher workforce specifically, which we all can agree, I'm sure, are the heart of what school and after schools are. The second is Circle Labs, wherein we host short-term programming, conversations very much like this one, spaces to basically pause, reflect, and explore new ways of seeing and leading. And lastly, through Circle Incubation, which is a 2 year journey for entrepreneurs who want to build their own schools and after school spaces in their own communities. These are individuals who are deeply committed to the children and contexts that they come from. Shrey, who's also on this call, is also been part of our incubation program and our entrepreneurship journey. This particular forum is also very special to us because it's the start and the launch of our this year's incubation applications, which are going to start on the 16th of February, which is the coming Monday. So exactly in 3 days from now. So if you are somebody who wants to start your own schools, after schools, and you want to basically create a school that transforms entire communities and generations of people, then please do apply and we'd love to hear from you. If you are interested and want to know more, then please do get in touch with us through either the labs group or the emails or even the form. And we'd love to set up a call and get to know more. To basically share a little bit about what we're going to be talking about and what is possible within the entrepreneurship journey, we wanted to basically talk about the mindset that the entrepreneur brings, right? Which is so important. Because this very, very crucial work of transformation is only possible when an entrepreneur sees both the constraints and possibilities within the community, not from the outside looking in, but from within. And to basically join us on this conversation, we have three very fantastic people coming in. We have Shrey, who's one of very own circle entrepreneurs. As the co-founder of SURAAH, he is reinventing traditional hill schools in Uttarakhand, transforming them into a progressive learning space where children and communities are empowered to reimagine their local hills, their surroundings, and basically what future looks like for them. We also have Shaheen, who is the founder and CEO of Teach for India. And with decades of experience working across diverse communities, Shaheen brings a powerful perspective on what it means to adopt this mindset and have this lens and what becomes possible as an entrepreneur when we do and what we risk when we don't. Siddharth, who's going to be leading and anchoring a lot of the conversation today, is the director of coaching support at the Circle. And he works closely with all of our entrepreneurs, 40 right now, and partners to cultivate this asset based mindset in practice. So, yes, Siddharth, handing over, basically, sorry, just to phrase what we're going to be going through today, we're going to start with basically the lens that we hold as an entrepreneur, what this journey looks like, what are the diverse communities and evolving narratives when we hear from all the three panelists today. And then the last 15-20 minutes of the call, which will be about 6:50 onwards, we're going to be opening it for Q&A. Throughout the call, if you do have any questions, curiosities, and thoughts that you come up with, please do keep putting it in the chat. Me and Amina will take it up when the Q&A segment of the call opens up. And please do stay till the very end because we will be dropping some important information regarding the incubation applications, the timelines, and also the people to reach out to for the same. All right, over to you, Siddharth.
Thank you, Anaga. Firstly, a lot of gratitude to Shaheen, you, and Shrey for just being part of this space and sharing your stories with us. Um, yeah, so I think like as we get ready to open our applications for the next cohort, which is special because then we'll have 50 entrepreneurs. So it's a special number, and some of you are sitting right in this space. So I'm really excited about this. I think we're just interested to see like where do we begin? And if we recognize that all of our work is essentially very relational, right? It's just bunch of people coming together to create something, right? The question then becomes like, who are these people, and how do they see these communities? What lens do they hold? And hence, what choices do they make, and hence, what future do they end up creating within for these communities? So if the lens has so much power, and does it have so much power, then I think it's a good place to start. So I think that's the invitation here for us to just take a step back and really see how do we begin to begin our work with our communities and children. Yeah. So on that note, gratitude to both of you. And yeah, so I mean, this is not a panel. I'm hoping it's a podcast style, just living with the age. So feel free to just let the conversation flow. So it doesn't have to be Q&A specifically. Um, so I think like if Shaheen, I can start with you. You've been in this space for decades now. Um, and I remember from what I gather, like you started Akanksha in 1998-ish, and right when you're in Xavier's, you began the building the foundation, the conceptualization of that. If you can take us back to that moment when you met few kids, entered few communities, what was emerging for you then? What was present for you as you interacted with these children? Yeah, what was on your mind back then?
Yeah, thank you. It's really lovely to be here, and it's lovely to be on a call with people who potentially want to start schools because I think we just need hundreds and thousands of people starting schools, and very exciting to be here with Shrey, whose school I've just seen, and would highly recommend all of you make it out there to see his school as well. Um, I mean, I love this topic. I wanted just to start with that because um, I think I've seen the power of lens, and I wanted to maybe just take a couple of minutes to think about like what is lens? You know, when we say um choosing to see something the way that you choose it. Um, right now I'm wearing glasses with fairly clear lenses, and so I'm seeing the world in a particular way. But if I were to take these off and wear sunglasses that were orange, I would literally see the world um, in an orange light. And that's really significant, like that idea that you can see the world in the way that you choose and control your mind to be able to do that. And I think so important for an entrepreneur to know that early on. I don't think I knew that early on when I started my work. So I was 18, I was pretty young, and I had grown up with a lot of privilege, and I'd grown up outside of India. And so my understanding of India was shaped by a very superficial narrative of India being full of people who were poor and lots of cows on the street and peacocks roaming around. And then the context of that, I came back and walked into a low income community, which at the time I called a slum. I no longer call a slum. Um, and I think I walked in with the lens of expecting to see a lot of desperate poverty and all the associated things that would come with that. So I expected to see um, people very sad and hungry and just with the range of issues and problems that one can imagine, like health issues and lack of education. And so my lens was very deficit. I came in sort of assuming that. And not to undermine the fact that all of that and more was also true. Like that, of course, like there was poverty and unequal distribution to income, and that led to a range of problems. But what I was just totally surprised by was the overarching thing that was real was not what I saw. What I actually experienced was resilience and courage and a sense of community and camaraderie, um, and empowerment, which was very different from the lens that I had come in with. Yeah, so maybe I'll pause there. I think that was my initial starting.
And Shaheen, to the point on like, of course, the reality is there is hunger and health issues and whatnot. There is an element of that, which is also true.
Right.
And you also saw this resilience and courage and camaraderie. What, how did you switch your lens? Like, what allowed you to also see that?
I mean, I think being really curious and really open to learning. I mean, for me, there was no choice because I knew nothing about anything. I didn't know how to teach. I didn't know how to be an entrepreneur. I didn't have any circle to support me. Um, I had to be a learner, but I'm so thankful for that because I think being just really curious, like knowing that you don't know. I think that's something that I understood very early on, that it's very powerful to know that you don't know because then you can continually learn. And I think as you learn and as you become more aware in that openness, your lens starts to shift and you just see more, again. And I think as an entrepreneur, I realized very early on that like even at 18, right, when you're like really idealistic and you believe you can change the world, it is so easy to get disillusioned if you don't choose the lens that's going to keep you in the work, keep you coming back the next day. And so for a young social entrepreneur to know that like the world has everything, right? It has good, bad, ugly, like all of it. But what do you choose to see more? Like, what do you choose to define as reality? That feels really important to keep asking yourself and to approach it knowing that that will keep evolving and changing. And that's fine. I actually think for me, things evolved slower 3 decades ago. Today, with the pace of change in the world, if you're not open to your lens shifting and changing, I don't think you're going to be able to get very far in today's world.
Thank you for that, Shaheen. I'm here like, if you're curious, then you end up seeing more. And that keeps you wanting to keep coming back and stay in this work, stay in doing what you really want to do with the community. Um, Shrey, in your case, I think you've been away from the hills for a while. You were in TFI, you were in CSF, in the cities. I think you worked in like 3 to 5 different cities. You have seen the micro, which is a classroom, and also the macro view, and yet you chose to come back home, come back to the hills. And I'm curious, like, what were you thinking about, and what were you seeing the communities as? Like, when you look back at the children in the hills, what came to mind that made you choose this path?
Great. Hi, Siddharth. Hi, Shaheen. Wonderful to share this space with you and all the lovely people joining in the call. About 2.5 years ago, I was on one of such calls of the circle, and then the circle happened and really enabled this journey. So very, very grateful, just to be associated with the circle. And yes, I was born and brought up here in the hills. And one question that I always asked was why the hills are so behind. And it really filled me up with anger to say that why we are not at par in terms of our excellence, our quality of what schools could be. And I grew up hearing the story of my own grandmother, how she walked 300 kilometers to just to give her fifth grade examination. And I saw that how 100 years passed since then, the situation in the hills are still the same because the parents, the families, they still choose to go to the Dehradun or Delhi because they believe there somewhere they have this excellent school. And I thought if there is one thing that the hills needed was excellence. And then I, went back to my experience of the fellowship 2015 when I was in Ahmedabad. And I remembered how it was a first year intervention with my third and fourth graders, and how we had all of these great research based frameworks, right from Cunningham to Hegarty to Dr. Seuss to Roald Dahl. And I could see all of those work for my children in Ahmedabad. And I thought if I could just, copy paste and bring these frameworks to the hills, it will finally change and finally I will be able to fix the problem. And so I did. I trained a local teacher in all of this, and he was able to, go and execute all of this program as well with the kids. And a month passed, 2 month passed, 3 month passed. I was able to see some changes, and a part of me was feeling validated that, oh, this actually works for the hills. But there were also pieces of me where I was questioning, is it the whole picture? And that is where I would like to pause.
Yeah, what I heard was like you saw kids were behind in the skills, and you knew you had resources. You had all the curriculum and TLMs and whatnot. You've seen evidence of that work, and then you thought, okay, let's fix this problem. I have all that it takes. You train teachers, and then it worked, and you left as a cliffhanger. So, what's up? What is the next part?
Yeah. And so, one of the ways I see my work is that we are not doing anything new or innovative. I'm like, how can we continue the work that a lot of other social change makers have done in the hills? So one of those is this, school called SID, and these were like, local schools in the hills, and the founder behind it is, Mr. Pawan Gupta, one of our mentors, and so we were just like sitting with him and trying to understand how did they approach their localized education when Sid used to run in the hills. And he mentioned one incident, and he mentioned that when the kids of Sid used to grow up along with them and used to go till 10th, academically they got a lot of learnings about like like how it means to think, how it makes to write, and how it means to speak. But the parents had a lot of problem and a lot of kind of a question with the Sid and the schools. And Pavanji, he mentions that the parents, they had this question like, why is it so that as soon as the kids enter 10th and that kind of a timeline of spending that time in your schools, why उनके हाथ, why do they go inside the pocket, उनके हाथ उनके पॉकेट में क्यों चले जाते हैं और उनको गांव के गोबर से बदबू क्यों आने लग जाती है? Why do they start smelling the what are the fabric of what the village this cow dung is, because it is used in such a multiple ways and it has been used intergenerational. And so yeah, so that is one of the question कि ऐसा क्यों है कि बच्चे अपने ही कॉन्टेक्स्ट और अपने खुद से डिस्कनेक्ट कर देते हैं. And that was little unsettling. I was like, does it mean that we do away with rigor? Do we not really fall back to things that really work? And that was the unsettling part for me to how do I shift my lens from saying that there is a lot of things that is not working in my community, to say that what all wisdom or what all memories this village already has that has been working well for many many generations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, Shrey. And you've been at it for a while, and you've been a big advocate of contextualizing learning and education, and hopefully get to hear more on how you bring that at Surah over the call. And Shaheen, I mean, you've been running TFI specifically for the last, I think, what, 17, 18 years now? It's almost 2 decades. And I can't imagine the number of children, the communities you have met over the last all these years. What is now evolving for you? What's emerging as a new lens, or maybe when you look back, a missing piece that you now are realizing, okay, that could be what I've been not seeing over the last many years.
I mean, I feel like everything about the way I used to think has changed and shifted over time. But a story that I just heard from my mentor last week is coming to mind, and I want to share it also because Shrey knows this is a Jayesh Bhai story from Ahmedabad. But Jayesh Bhai, who's a friend and dear mentor to me, was walking down a street a couple of weeks ago in Ahmedabad, very, very crowded, noisy street with lots and lots of trucks going by. And he saw an older man sitting on the side of the road, very still, with a prayer mala, just moving sort of the beads of the mala. And he paused to say, "This is very odd. Like, why would you sit at the side of this crowdy, dusty, horn honking street and pray when you could find so many quieter places to pray?" So he went to the man and he said, "What are you doing?" And the man said, "I am praying." And he said, "But why are you praying here?" And the man looks at him and says, "To me, the sound of the honk of the trucks is music. To me, the sound of the honk of the trucks is music, you know? And I think that's what we're talking about today. It's like, for 9 out of 10 of us, we would be like, "Oh, traffic, let me get home, let me get out." Like that's one way of seeing the world. And the other way is to say, no, like to me, this is music. And there's so many examples of that have shifted the way I see things over time. And they've all been examples and real lived stories from community and people around in the community. But I think to name a few, I think I've moved from anger to love. I think as a young person, I remember like working in communities where in the summer vacation, bulldozers would come and bulldoze down my kids' homes. And like the government would choose to do it in the summer break when people were not there. And I would be furious and I would like run from one government department to another and I would run to hotels and ask them to give free food. And I was just a very angry young person. And I think my lens shifted over time to say, like, when you put anger out into the world, it's met with resistance. And when you put love out into the world, it's met with partnership. And even though it's actually the more difficult choice to make, um, choose love. And I think, it manifested in very crazy experiments. I remember one day driving actually down a road, and I saw the thing that horrifies me the most, which was a mother beating a little child, and the child was naked. I think she'd been bathing the child. Child was about 3 or 4 years old, and the mother was just beating uncontrollably this child. And so again, my earlier self and my immediate reaction was just go and be angry or report this to the police but something inside me said, no, let me try a different lens this time. And I just went to the mother and I didn't say a word and I just put my arm around her, and within 1 minute, that mother was sobbing in tears and telling me how sorry she was for what she'd done to her child. And so I think for me, a lens has shifted based on just seeing people operate in ways that I want to be like that. Like I want to choose joy like that man and choose love like, so many examples that I've seen. And I think the last one that I'll share, there are so many, but I'll just choose one more, is just moving my lens from like outcomes to journey. And not that I don't care about outcomes, like I'm desperately concerned with education in India, right? So that will always be like my North Star towards an India free of poverty and filled with love. But I think in the beginning, I evaluated my success on things that were not in my control. And outcomes actually are rarely ever in your control. I realized over time that it's a lot of my own ego to say it's in my control. And the example on this call is I'm not in control of what anyone takes away from this space. And so success is not actually these 100 people taking this away and choosing a different lens. Like to me, I don't see it that way anymore. I used to see it like that. Today, I see it as what is in my control. What's in my control is what I'm sharing, the intention with which I'm sharing it, the fact that I showed up today. Those are things in my control. And so seeing success as the things that I do, and the journey that I take of these small steps and letting go, somewhat, it's still a struggle of the outcome and where it goes, knowing that there's so much more in the universe that informs where things go. That's been another like massive lens shift for me.
Yeah. And I think like what I'm sitting with is like one, just realizing I do have a locus of control. And it starts with like how I choose to see the world and make sense of it. Um, and I think earlier you mentioned about choosing curiosity because that opens up a lot of how much more you can see the world. And with the example of the person holding the beads, I think just moving from anger to love. Thank you for that. And in Shrey, your case, like you came back to the hills, you're building this for the last almost 2 years now. You spoke about having a, a visual of like how I see my kids and how I see this community. Now that you've passed 2 years, what's the reality like? What has refined? What has become complex in how you're seeing these communities?
Yeah. Hmm. I mean, when I started it off, like I mentioned, it was about like how do I import excellence? And now the question has changed to what is already there in the village, and how do we leverage that into our school's curriculum? And so the way we go about it very practically is that if in a grade 5 in disaster management, there's an example of an earthquake of Kutch that happened like 20 years ago, we rather actually talk about the landslides that happens in the hills every single year, thousands of those. And we feel that becomes very much important for our kids to take up and study in their early years, because we feel the more rooted they are in their context, the farther they will go in life later. And that also changes this narrative. What we say that pahad ka pani or pahad ki jawani pahad ke kaam nahi aati. The youth and the rivers and the water doesn't help the mountain because both flows down. We are changing that narrative outside, but also internally, to say in our school, we don't want to go about using a standardized curriculum, but rather see what live questions are in existence around them. So our children are asking, like, how do we get water in a village? Because if you don't ask such questions, they see it automatically coming out of the tap. But can we make a project-based learning out of that? And our third graders right now are studying the canal system that was built by the Britishers about like 100 years ago, which was the first canal in the Dehradun district. And other things, right, which have been forgotten. For example, the farming system. Right now, it's very monoculture here, but there used to be something called bara anaj, 12 grain farming system, where they used to bring 12 different seeds and used to grow them together in a farm. And so kids are asking if that would do wonders for the land, what would that kind of inclusion would do for a society? So such kind of a transdisciplinary thoughts and approach is how our students are taking now. And so in our school, we are not following subject, rather subjects are following real world inquiries like these. Yeah.
Yeah. And to both of you, I'm wondering like because the shifting lens also means lens was shaped by something, right? Like it's our identities, our past experiences. So it's hard to let go and adopt more or even new ones. Something had to die or let go of in order to adopt something new. So I'm wondering, in Shaheen, in your case, choosing love over anger sounds wonderful. I would love to be that every single time. But I look back at how the kind of fellow I was, I think it was such a hard thing for me to activate every single time. So, what does it really take? Like, what did it take for you to, um, or what is it taking actually? Let's say it's a journey still. for you to make these choices to, in the moment, choose that lens? What does it
Yeah.
take for a leader?
I mean, I think two thoughts that are both like very different. I think one is just children have taught me these pieces more than anyone else. So I still teach once a week, and I can't leave the classroom every week without remembering love and joy because I feel it every single week from my kids. And so one constant for me over now 36 years, except for the 2 years of the pandemic, is that I've always worked with one group of children deeply. And I think a lot of what I've learned about courage, about vulnerability, about strength, about the ability to keep going, has come from children. Like they have humbled me in ways that no leadership program or degree or meeting, going to conferences ever has. So for me, that's been the the consistent practice across these years. I think the second has been like, and this is all a journey, right? Like every day that I can give you examples of times when I haven't responded with love. It may be a thought, it may be a word, it may be an action. So all of this is work in progress. But I think an awareness of my own ego has enabled a lot of these shifts. Like I've told many people this, but like when I was young, I like genuinely believed that I could change the world. Like I was going to change the world. And it wasn't coming from a bad place. But today I understand it as just like a very inflated ego. And then I got a little bit older, life felt a little bit harder. I said, no, the world's a big place, maybe city, maybe. Then eventually I realized I can't even change my own two daughters at home. And really, the only thing I can change is myself. And that came from like understanding humility a little bit more, letting go and becoming aware of my ego a little bit more. Like how do I think that I can change an outcome? I can contribute. Like my actions matter because of the intention of the actions. And so I think it was just a lot of different practices, reading, spending time with people, meditation, all of these. The arts for me was a big one that made me more conscious, that just over time I've practiced being more present. And I think when you're more present, you can be more aware. And when you're more aware, you can start to think about some of these pieces. And actually, my mind keeps going to Shrey's school because I felt that mindfulness and that awareness in that space. Like what Shrey was talking about is not just about curriculum and content, but around about like real like relevance and joy and being in the moment and slowing down. I think I went very, very fast, and I still, my default is fast. But whenever I slow down, I actually realize that it unlocks something very, very different.
So that's your unmute.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, what I'm hearing is like one is like being proximate um, with the kids, being present with them, and also like just noticing what am I experiencing in that moment, which is the awareness and the presence really comes in to just tune in to see this is just beautiful to be able to do this with the kids. Um, and I think that feeds into the emotion of love and joy, and hence I end up the next choice comes from that place, but the act of noticing seems quite powerful.
Can I share one more quick thing that just came to
Please.
mind because of the I choose joy thing? Actually, last week in my class, the day before my class, there was a huge fire right next to the school. And so the school had been evacuated and all of this. So I wasn't even sure if the kids would come the next day, but they all showed up for class. And in our circle, one of my girls, Zoya, she said, Dia, I want to share something with you. She said, when the fire broke out, people were running and people were like nervous. But I remembered that example and I told myself, I choose joy. And she said everything in that moment shifted when I told myself I choose joy. And so it's like a beautiful circle, like you learn from kids and
Yeah,
kids learn from you, and it's this never-ending cycle.
beautiful. Yeah, what are the lessons do we want? Kids are like, here it is. Shrey, what's present for you? What did it take for you to make the switch to the wisdom lies in the village?
Yeah. I mean, there's always this, battle between going fast, but also really not being, not trying to be the author of the transformation, not leading the transformation, but rather being a participant in the transformation that is happening in the village. Uh, and I often ask myself, am I listening enough, or am I trying to prove something? This balance between, and I often catch myself saying that, oh, probably this is me trying to put across something that I feel could change things faster. uh yeah, one, I feel it's a constant journey, and rather than thinking that a person has arrived, it is more about awareness, like how Shine talks about the lens and how and what we choose to wear every single moment and every single day. uh, but I feel a lot of grounding, a lot of awareness. What I was able to bring in only came in from Ahmedabad. And as Shaheen mentioned about Jayesh Bhai, so while I was with TFI, I used to volunteer in the weekends a lot at the Gandhi Ashram. And I remember once we were going around in a village and we were distributing these food packets. That what looked to me as distribution, and I asked Jayesh Bhai to say that what will actually this lead to? Like, this is an input, and in what will it be as an output, and what will be the outcome of it? And I was just trying to, pick his brain. And he's like, Shrey, there is no have and have nots, right? Why do we have to, assume that we have everything and they don't? And though he said that there is no, like, when you come from that lens, you'll be like, hey, I'm giving to you and you are the receiving one. And so there's always this tension between have and have nots, and what they have intend or have the kind of expectation from them, and what do they have expectation of them. And I'm like, if this is not about haves and have not, what is it about? And so he said, it's always about sharing, sharing because you can, sharing because you want to. And so one of the things he, taught me was like, don't work out of bhar, like kind of this heaviness on your shoulder that you are going to fix the world, but work from a point of view of bhav, from your feelings. Like, do the work because you want to, because you love doing it. That's how I always, kind of catching myself in different movement and coming back to these wisdom.
Yeah. I think like two things I'm hearing. Like one is the act of becoming aware and noticing, and the presence comes in. And the second, Shrey, I think like what I'm taking from you is like the openness. All of us have some unique life experiences, but the openness to allow these experiences to offer you a new lens and see what you're going to do about it. Um, this could be in a classroom where a child offers a new lens, or in your case, Ahmedabad and what Jayesh Bhai did for you. But the fact that you were open enough to take that in, I think that's something I'm sitting with. Um, I'm seeing like we have over 100 folks in this call, and I would love to just see if anyone wants to jump in and share. Like each of us have our own lived experiences. It's very human of us to have held a lens, to adopt new ones, and I'm curious, like if any bunch of you would love to share what is present for you as you hear Shaheen's and Shrey's journeys. If you can come off mute, that'll be beautiful. However small or longer you want to share.
Hi, sorry, can I please? This is Rachna here.
Yes, Raksha, go for it. If you can
Hi.
have a quick introduction and then share your thought.
Sure. Hi, Shaheen. I don't know if you remember me, but I worked with Akanksha in my starting years and managed the JJ school with Naida and the rest of the bunch. So, that's where my journey as far as education started. It was my first job right out of my course. And Shaheen was an inspiration then and still an inspiration today for me. Um, happy to say that, wherever I started my journey, I am now running a foundation that works within prison creches in Russia and is educating the children of incarcerated mothers. So I think, sorry, I know there's children playing in the, but I started off, and this is where I am now, and we are educating children inside prison. And yeah, it was a stepping stone into what I'm doing today. So yeah, thank you, Shaheen, and it's incredible to see your journey from then up until now.
Rachna, please do get in touch separately. Would love to connect.
Absolutely, I would love to. Thank you. And
Thank you.
also to all the great work you're doing in the hills. If there's any way we can help you, we would love to. The only reason I came on, honestly, is to say hi to Shaheen and to you. So kudos to the work you guys are doing, and amazing Siddharth. Love the conversation as well, and all the best to everybody else.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rachna.
Yeah. Bye bye.
More power to you. Um, Prachi, you want to share? We'll have one more person after this. Go for it, Prachi.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Shaheen, Shrey, Siddharth, for this fantastic conversations we've had so far. Just a quick anecdote of where my lens shifted. So I'd been teaching dance to children at learning centers, post their classes, post their academics. And every time the dance classes, they were very, again, the point was to spread joy, to have a very joyful experience. But every time, like how a lot of dance classes are, they used to be very one sided where I am teaching steps and they're imitating and mimicking. But once we just sat down to just brainstorm and think about, oh, what should we create a dance about? And there was so many ideas, themes that came just from their lived experiences. And that's where it sparked in me that, oh, it shouldn't just be one way. And now I really need to focus and shift the lens of co-creation and make them, because the women, and from there on, when that started, the entire process of learning dance changed. And again, what they took out of the class completely changed. And the performances, the learnings became very much theirs. So that's a lens that really brought into me that how children learn and how making things their own is so crucial.
Beautiful example. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prachi. And more power to your kids. Wow. Uh, Anika, you want to say something?
Yes, I was going to say, do we have time for one, two more shares? Or do you want to
Yeah.
go?
Yeah, we can, we can.
Neha, do you want to come off mute and share?
Can I share?
Sure. Arshi, go ahead.
I'm really sorry I'm traveling, so there may be some background noise. I would like to share a quick, a short one of Akansha completely simply. Like I basically done my BEd and I joined I joined in Akansha. And earlier, coming from a Sonai college, I felt like, I know everything and I know all the strategies, but Akansha taught me it's not about, you knowing everything and giving and guiding the students. It's about letting students create their learning. So that really changed me, the way I look at the students and the way I give them opportunities and the student voice. I think that's the great, and I realized how giving them student the voices and choices completely change the way they learn, the way you see their learning, and also being more patient. Akanksha taught me leading with patience and joy. There's no completely you as a person, you as a teacher, and your classroom environment completely. So yeah, I just wanted to just share this small learning that I got from that. I'm in Kodar currently, but yeah, I carry my learning every day. Yeah.
Thank you, Ashi. I heard student voice and enabling that for the children. And I heard some gratitude for Kanksha. And so glad teachers like you exist that you're doing with your children. Thank you so much, Ashi, for that. We will have one more person. Neha, I think I see you're back. Would love to hear from you.
Thank you. Hi, Shaheen. Hi, Shrey. Shaheen, I met you 2 days ago in this session in Delhi, and Shrey, I talked to you today. So I wanted to just share this thing. I'm a year one fellow in Teach for India in Delhi cohort, and when I was in training, I used to think the same thing ki I want to transform. I want to bring the absolute change or a thing that was in my head. And I would agree that it was a lot of load that I was carrying. So when I get into Sangam Vihar, and I'm teaching all girls school and seventh grade girls, now after 7, 8 months, I feel like when I just let go of this burden of changing everything, uh, I just started being present more in class, listening to them, and just doing small bits. I started enjoying the teaching process a lot. So much so that I used to say that I don't want to be a teacher after 2 years of the fellowship. I want to do something else, but in the education sector. But now I say I want to teach. Even after 2 years, I want to teach. I really love teaching. And any day, I hate Sundays because it's like I don't get to go to school. That much I love teaching now. I just love answering the curiosity filled questions of those girls when they do something, when they create something. It's the journey, it's the feeling that Shrey emphasized, that Shine talked about, that not carrying a lot of load and just being present in the moment, that transformed me how I see education and how I actually see it bringing change in everyday life rather than carrying a lot of expectation of what I can do for future. So that's it that I wanted to share.
Thank you, Neha. Your love for teaching is quite contagious, I must say. And I'm now missing my kids. But thank you so much for sharing. We'll have one more person share, and we'll come back to large group sharing in after a small section. Yeah. So, Ansari, Shofia, you wanna go? Let me close with
Hey,
you.
thank you, Siddharth, for giving me this chance. Hi, Shaheen. Hi, Shrey. Uh, I want to share that I'm a student alumni. I met Shaheen when I was in fourth standard. I really want to thank you for giving me all the fabulous teacher that I had during my school time. So during that time, I realized like the experience that I was getting, the exposure that I was getting was something that I feel like I didn't deserve it because the community that I come from. But the Teach for India, what gave me, made me like it made me see a world from a very different point of view. And it always made me feel sadder for the other class who doesn't have the Teach for India teacher. So like since that time I always thinking like how can I give that learning? How can I pass on that quality learning to other children as well? So I got into teaching now and I'm working with like I teach. I'm also working in my community. Like I'm working with parents and children together. So something that I really want to share.
Beautiful. So lovely to have you, Ansari, and yeah, more power to you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Prasad, we would love to hear from you. If you can drop your thought in the chat. We're going to go into the last piece and then hopefully can have a little more time for Q&A, plus also to get all these beautiful stories. Clearly, there is a lot of joy and love around, so I would love to just open up towards the end. Um, Shaheen and Shrey, we started off with like one, what is the lens you began your journey with? We spoke about what has evolved for you. I think I'm also curious, like, I think implicitly and also from my experience, I've seen all these lenses influence choices and choices influence what we end up creating. Um, what have you seen fundamentally shift after you have made a switch in the lens from your own lived experience, from what you have created over the last years? Um, yeah, what is that fundamentally powerful shift that you have seen as a reality, or the future that you have created? This could be I mean, we'd love to have as a story, but in any form that makes sense for you.
Shrey, you go first this time.
Sure, Shaheen. Right. So when the lens didn't shift for me, when I was thinking I'm the driver's seat, I feel that I felt much more in control. But in hindsight, I can see the whole system was defined, or it had its boundary uh, till I could think. Like, that was it. Like, as much as I could bring in, that was the boundary of our work. But I feel now that I listen more and I'm bringing in the context and making that the driver of our work, our community, and bringing their voice in, I feel a lot of times it is about like things are emerging and we are able to bring that into our lessons. So, for example, the whole way how we go about teaching now, and we are teaching like canal system now. And even though there is a lesson plan which talks about this canal that flows, and it is that our students need to visit and they are there. In that moment, we are also observing another canal that is dried up, and I had no idea about it. So when Niraja, our facilitator, when she is leading that space, the space has that openness to just go out of the plan and to talk about, hey, what is present in front of us, and can we just like talk about that as well. I think we have really opened up to emergence, and I think that is just helping us go beyond what I could have brought into it single-handedly.
I love it. You opened up to emergence. Powerful, Shri. Thank you. Thank you for that. Shaheen?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll talk about one of the things I know we speak about a lot at the circle, as well as the shift from me to we, which I think is also a little bit of like letting go of the ego, not feeling like you need to be the expert in the room. If you're the teacher, that you need to have all the answers, but how can we do this work truly in partnership with others, very similar to what Shrey was sharing before. And so for me, it's interesting because I feel like right now, like Teach for India is like larger than it's ever been, has a bigger budget than it's ever had, has more ambitious goals. And yet I feel much less responsibility than I've ever felt in my life. I don't feel anything is my own to solve anymore. And that has been a game changer. It's like literally felt like this big rock has been taken off my head, because now I just feel like, okay, if there's a problem, I'm just gonna like gather a group of people, literally put the problem in the middle of the circle, and we're gonna figure it out together. And so that shift from feeling like I am responsible to we together can inspire each other, hold each other accountable, solve problems together, create opportunities together, shape a different world together. The we idea feels like it's been one of the most powerful shifts. And then I think the we also is linked to the idea of love. It's linked to the idea of joy, because we exist in communities. I think when I started my work with children, I never realized that actually the most precious thing we give our children is a community. It's the most precious thing. Like, yes, we give them academics and we give them dreams, but every one of our lives is going to be like this. It's going to be up and down. And what is going to keep you going are those people around you, your classmates, your teachers, and so I think, how do we foster the we deliberately and say, okay, anything can happen in my life, but if I have people around me that are rooting for me, that will be there. And in times when I'm in a strong place in my life, I will give to the community. And in times when I need, I will take from the community. That community idea, the idea of we, feels really powerful.
Yeah. And Shaheen, and as you're sharing, like a lot of all these stories and even what has shaped us is because over the many decades and years, people have contributed to our own identities and who we are.
Absolutely.
We have learned from them, we have experienced life with them, and hence there's a almost like we can't see them, but it's all there. Like when you look back, there's an entire village that's ever growing who are right beside you, behind you. And if we can offer that for our children and make them visible for them, I think that's really powerful. Um,
Absolutely.
Beautiful. All right, I see it's 7. We have approx 15, 18 minutes of Q&A. Would love to, I mean, Anaga, if we have any questions already on the chat, if you know, put out
Yes,
one to Shaheen and Shrey, if
yes.
we can surface that.
All right. I think our first question is from Varun, who's an arts educator in North Karnataka. And his question is that a realization he's had is that in villages here, more energy and skills are required to facilitate social and political asks of the village, since government schools do not stay inside the education bubble. Did you ever face such a situation? If so, what were your experiences? I think, Varun, your question is more directed towards Shrey, but um, please do correct me if I'm wrong. And Varun, please feel free to come off mute and share your question as well in depth.
Yeah, thank you. I'm traveling right now, so I have very bad network. Uh, but basically, I was asking this because as an arts educator, I had mostly expected resistance to the idea of arts education itself. But what I am realizing is that the very idea of working with gender or with caste, or whether directly or indirectly, these things touch a nerve when you're working in the villages. And you cannot, I mean, obviously, you cannot work directly with them, but even the idea of something like this, just to give an example, was I've been working with sort of activating the children's gram sabhas in the villages that I come from, and it has led to quite a furore among the SDMCs and the people who are part of the authorities and panchayats. And what happens is that the repercussions of that are dealt directly by the parents and the children. So anything that is to do with education has real life consequences also. So I just wanted to know what happens to that. Thanks.
Shrey, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to understand the challenge that, is it about like how is art education implemented in school setting that connects to their real life? And then the challenges that comes across, let's say, political challenges or social challenges. Is that the question? Uh,
I mean, basically, what I'm trying to say is that if one has to do arts education,
mm,
um, and if we are dealing with certain subjects, such as, for example, say, if I have to talk about gender sensitivity or about sex education,
mm,
there is a lot of resistance that is in the village, not in the children. It's actually easy to work with children at a certain point. The
yeah,
hard part is actually to work with the community.
of
And
course.
because one, I
Right.
have to understand the context,
Mhm.
and I have to understand that I'm however much I am from the village, I still come from a different privilege and a background. So
Yeah.
to withdraw and yet to understand where we are going with this and what
Mhm.
really is education and learning here.
Right.
And to be honest, right now there is also this understanding that I have to work with uh, the entire family and not just the child. And but
Mhm.
what do you do with that kind of a situation is
Of
what I am
course.
also trying to grapple with.
Of course. Sure. I can share example of how we're going about such sensitive topics, especially topics which are not very openly talked about in a village setting like ours. Uh, so actually, first before we bring it to our children, it is with the parents that we talk through. So in our PTM session, all the parents when they come together in one of the last PTMs, we had a topic, bad good touch, bad touch, and from there, we went about talking about some real life instances that we have heard or seen in the village, so that we make it concrete for them, and also it is, they feel the need of it. Uh, so that is one about just like making it okay and normal with the parents first, and giving them this something to look up to say that, hey, if we all agree that these things are not something that is taboo but actually part of something that is around us, what will it take to take it to our children? So what are you owning up, as in, are you open to discuss these things when children bring it up at your home? And what will it take for you to do that? And also, we are going to hold spaces with our children to talk about, let's say, puberty, sex education, all of that as they move to the middle age now, middle school. And so, yeah, so just like having the buy-in of the parents and not coming from a place that we want to do it, but there's a part that you play, there's a part that we play, and how can we both hold these spaces with our children as they go about it? And that is how we have taken up kind of a buy-in of our parents to start this off.
Varun, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
The next question I think is for Shaheen. It's a little bit of a broader question, but how do you recommend social enterprises effectively balance financial sustainability with their social purpose goals?
What was the last part with their?
Social purpose goals.
Oh, how do you raise money? Is that the question?
How do you balance financial sustainability with social purpose? So maybe finding the partners that, yeah, how do you build
Yeah,
that partnership, I guess?
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's such a complicated um, answer, and I think probably anyone who's an entrepreneur on this call, this is one of the top three things on our mind. I think like just stay true to your purpose would be my first bit of advice. I think you will get pushed and challenged by donors to adapt your goals, your outcomes, but like the things you really believe in, stay true to them, and I think learn to tell your story really, really well. There are people out there, and there is enough funding out there to fund all of our work and more. And then I think of creative ideas. I mean, Shrey has one of the most innovative fundraising models I know where he makes like many, many people, I don't know how many it is now, like 60, 70 Shrey, co-founders, and they give relatively small amounts, but they feel a part of the building of the school. When I started, like Adopt an Akanksha Center was something that really resonated with people. It was a small unit. So figuring out ways to get people to directly connect with the work, but really being true to what you're trying to do and just believing that like if you do it and you keep telling the story consistently and authentically and keep trying creative ways to build partnerships, hopefully in most years you will be able to raise the funds you need to achieve your purpose and get a good team. Like my answer to everything is a good team. Like just be really careful with the people you bring into your fold, like have less people, but really bring in people with the skills and values that you need.
Thank you so much for that, Shaheen. Folks, I would love for you all to maybe just shoot in more questions on the chat, or if you feel more comfortable coming off of mute. I know Sumaya has just put a question about what does it take to actually really take action, and how do you move beyond any blocks that you may have when it comes to starting your own initiative and your space. And I'll direct this to Shrey, who's also taken a leap of his own. And but I would love for others to also think about, if you have any specific mindset related questions, especially the ones who are doing all the great work that you're doing in your communities. I can see a couple of people in the audience. But yeah, Shrey, if you could respond to Sumaya's question about how do you get over that block and initiate something.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm aware of so many blocks that I had, and would love to learn what is that block that you would say you have, and then I can just answer accordingly. The biggest block that you have, like why can't you start your work, let's say, just right this year?
Sumaya, would you like to come off of mute? Okay, she's mentioned financial resources and team. What I'm assuming is maybe the
Sure.
lack of financial resources and team.
Yeah, of course. I can share my journey, and then if that helps, I saw myself always as a program person, someone who can build school and can imagine what will it take for teach and take how would excellent teaching learning look like. I thought I'm that, and I was waiting that if only someone can call me back in to Uttarakhand to say that here's that school, here's a fundraising model and the resources, you go and build the school. But then I realized that nobody's going to come and save me, going to come and invite me to Uttarakhand. And if I want to make this work, and if I have that dream project, I need to take that leap of faith. And when you do that, right now you cannot even imagine how many people are waiting there to have your back end to kind of to support you once you take the leap and show conviction of why you're doing this work. And so do talk about your personal story. Why are you and why do you want to do this? To start with, your model, your impact is not why people will come to you, because even I had nothing to show then. Even now things are only emerging, but people provided and gave support financially because they were like, okay, if Shrey is doing this with this story and this conviction, that is why we're going to back him up. So yeah, do take the leap of faith, and as our dear friend Joe says, the net will appear. You will feel that there is enough of people around you who is going to support you.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Shrey. I know Anaga has some exciting announcements to share with you soon, but I would love to hear from at least some of you. If you could choose a lens starting today, what might that be, and what are you hoping to see through that? If you can come off mute and just offer the lenses, I think if collectively, even if you go in with a few insights on that, the world is going to be a very different place tomorrow. And I would love to hear on what's present for you. So
I
any of
think,
you can, bolo Anaga?
sorry, I was saying, I think Aman has a question. He's off
Yeah,
mute.
yeah.
Yes.
Somehow I'm not able to
Okay,
raise my hand. I don't know why. Sorry. That's
Yes.
why I
No
skipped the
worries.
raising hand. Sorry. If anyone raised the hand wants to go before me, that's also fine. Uh,
go for it. Go for it, Aman.
okay. Firstly, hi everyone. Hi Shrey. Hi Shaheen. Hi everyone. I have exchanged some messages with you, Shrey. So thank you for it's nice to see you. And I have heard a lot about and read a lot about Shaheen ji. So nice to see you as well. I think I don't know if it's a question. I'm sharing my situation. Maybe it has some questions, and maybe other people also feel it. So I'm also transitioning, let's say, from a career to being an educationist. And I think I'm transitioning right now. And I think since last year, I'm in that phase where, when we do want to do something new, we want to solve a problem, like we try to get information from a lot of places, try to do courses, try to talk to people who are in that field, and then and a point comes, I think that probably that's where I am right now, that you realize you have so much information. How do we narrow down now? And so I don't know if you guys also felt this, something like that. So if you can share your experience on this, like if somebody feels they are in this spot, what to do, how to deal with this.
Shrey, you want to share? Want to share?
I mean, yeah, very, very quickly, right? Hi, Aman, good to see you. Uh, Right. I always thought I do not have enough. I do not have enough information. I do not have enough resources and enough of a lot of things, right? So I realized all of that was a mask to hide my insecurities. Like, because I was afraid if I take the leap and if I fail, how will I survive? Even, not in my career, just in my life also, without money. But I think the answer lies in, again, I would say, like, taking that leap, and you will realize that the answer to really do great things is like doing small things with great love, as they say. So yeah, it is about realizing you have enough now, enough information, enough context, and once you do the work, you will only it's a lifelong journey, as long as lifelong learning thing. So yeah, so I mean, I think they say that your heart knows today what your mind will know tomorrow. So if you take that leap and your heart knows it is this year, so you will find all the answers also then.
I can add to that, Aman. I think it's such a great point, especially in today's world where we're just overwhelmed by information and also not really that much in control of the information that comes our way. I've been reading a lot about how many successful people are obsessively asking the question you asked, and they're actually being really careful about the information that comes their way. And so, like one nudge is to say maybe consume less information versus more, and be really conscious of the sources of information that you're consuming. And the second thought that I have is like when you actually start consuming information less, you tap into your own creativity and your own intuition more. And so making sure that you have enough space in your calendar and in your lives for your own individual thinking, to know your own opinion about something. Because when you're consuming information, you're constantly hearing what others have learned, what others have believed. That's important. And what's really important is learning to listen to yourself and your own faith and your own intuition. So sometimes I find like just locking myself in a room with no information is like the best way to just tap into my own original thinking about something.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I will try to follow the advices. But I try these things, but it's super tough as well. Like you said, I mean, I think I also agree. Like there's so much information out there these days,
Yeah.
and
And just get off social media. Like,
yeah,
I
I did
mean,
it today. Got off
yeah,
Instagram today.
yeah. Or be very mindful of how you use
Yeah.
social media. Yeah.
Thank you for that question, Aman. Fatima, we'll just take the last question from you. And folks, if you have to drop off after 7:15, please do so. But thank you so much for joining. Over to you, Fatima.
Yeah, so hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Hi, Shaheen Didi. So I don't have a question. I just quickly share with respect to the lens that, I will be using with respect to the conversation that we've heard so far. So I could really relate with what Shaheen Didi said when it comes to, uh, the most important thing basically in any situation is to show up and to give our best. And the fact that the outcome may not necessarily always be in our control. So that's a big takeaway for me from this session. And that's a lens that I'm going to use just to feel very excited about taking many more initiatives in future. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Fatima. Okay, folks. Firstly, I think to the 100 of us who chose to be in this conversation, like I said, of course, Shrey and Shaheen were there to initiate, but I think all of us have our own lived experience and wisdom around how we see and hence what we create. And my hope is like as we move forward, we become aware of these lenses and consciously create the world we really want to see, which hopefully is filled with love and justice. Um, Thank you so much, Shaheen, and Shrey, for being part of this, taking the time out of your busy life, and offering all the beautiful stories with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Siddharth, for anchoring this conversation, Shaheen and Shrey for taking out your time, and for Anagha as well. Thank you everyone for joining. Please feel free to leave. There are a couple of important links I've put on the chat. As we mentioned, the incubation applications are going to open on 16th February. We'd love for you to just check that out and see if that's something that you want to jump into. The link is for a WhatsApp group where we keep sharing more information about the applications and the program. And we're doing something very exciting in Mumbai on 20th February called Project Reinvention. It's for this particular community to talk more about how is it that we can